But Noah's work, the earliest Greeks from the island of Crete, who spread their culture through sea, trade growing wealthier by day, agriculture and fishing. They lived life in peace. Then came the Mycenaeans. They adopted their culture, like writing and trade. Well, they adopted their art in the buildings they made. They both worshipped bulls and learned to build ships the same, but the Mycenaeans put them all to shame. Eventually they turned aggressors, they became, and when they least expected it, they conquered them.
Both of these civilizations most likely met violent ends caused by natural disasters and invasions that contributed to their decline. After the Mycenaean civilization ended, writing stopped.
Eventually, the Greeks learned to write again, and they lived on to tell some of the most famous stories in history. Homer wrote epic poems like the Iliad and the Odyssey that told stories of heroes and war and continue to inspire stories today.
Before we talk about Greek city-states, let's talk about how the geography affected them.
80% of the land has mountains, which leaves less land for them to farm. This is why they relied on the seas, where fishing and trading was a norm. Communication, it was not easy because the barriers the mountains formed. City-states formed with their own government, different types all around were born. Athens, where democracy started, the idea of voting was new. This was really influential, we do this in America too. Sparta was an oligarchy, this means ruled by a few. 2 kings and a council of elders ran the army and made laws to pursue. But the real power rested with the 5 elected officials who could veto any decision that they wanted to.
So what was life like living as a child in Sparta versus a child living in Athens?
Sparta valued military and strength. Boys taking a 7 for brutal training. Girls were also expected to be strong, protect the home, learn physical educations. Athens valued education first. The boys went to school every subject well versed. No military training until being an adult. No school for the girls, they learned household skills at home. Life in the different city-states varied, but they did have some things in common, such as their religious beliefs, culture, and language.
All city-states had an acropolis, which was the highest point in the city that served as a fortress when under attack. Most of the time the city-states were on opposite sides of a war, but there was one time where they actually allied together. War with Persia. If they didn't ally together, there would have been no way to defeat the huge Persian army. So, how did this war start?
Darius the First, he was the ruler of Persia. He conquered a Greek colony called Ionia. Ionia revolted with the help of Athens, and Darius vowed to take them down with a passion. War was declared, and at the Battle of Thermopylae, 300 Spartans vowed to protect the Greek army. Their death was certain, but by the end, those 300 Spartans alone killed 20,000 men. 20,000 men. 20,000 men. This is Sparta. 20,000 men. 20,000 men. This is Sparta.
The sacrifice of the 300 gave the rest of the Greeks time to assemble and prepare for a naval battle in which they defeated Persia. Greece went on to win the war against Persia, but the city-states didn't stay united. They eventually were plunged into war against each other. And that about wraps up the first chapter of Ancient Greece. Greece, Greece, Greece. Ancient Greece, Ancient Greece, Greece.